Good morning. I'm Future Wellness, Spiritual Director here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and we're just delighted that you're with us this morning. We're finishing up our conversation about creativity, and we have a wonderful guest speaker, Alva Baltimore, one of our practitioners today.
Good morning, everyone. What a celebration of life this morning. As I sing this song for you, I invite you to stand up and celebrate with me. Move, because this is a fun song, and you are the universe. It is inside of you.
Debbie and the Fabulous House Band. Are you ready to go for it? So that's what we're going to explore this morning. We're going to explore going for it. We're going to dig out right from the beginning why we don't. And we're going to release that like Veronica said in the prayer. We're going to commit to moving our keisters. and really going for it and making it happen and letting life show up for us fabulously. And as we do so, not only do our lives work, but our world works. So I'm going to read to you from, I don't know what that noise is. Go for it from this morning's Joyce Living Journal. It says, when young with nothing to lose, you went for it, whatever it was. There was a blind strength of believing in yourself. You were able to hear guidance and feel possibilities. You knew your dream and potential. You were led from within and stepped into synchronistic, divinely inspired, unfolding outer events. With little to lose, you would say, I am doing this, and others would say, yes. You found support, and those who didn't support you, they gave you greater determination. There was a larger vision calling you. It became an important part of your life. Your genius was stirring, looking to bring forth form to the call from within. The beginnings of any undertaking may be exposing you to criticism from others. Your belief in what you see must be stronger than the doubters before you. Your creative expression wants to expand, and yet when it meets with resistance, the emotionally immature custodian of the vision finds it easier to contract to where it is safe. If you choose the comfort of approval, the boldness you once had softens. The early strength gives way to safety, and the once clear voice becomes a distant memory. We're going to watch a clip about how that can happen and how to move beyond it.
Okay, think when you were still a kid. Think when you were a kid, everything is possible. You put the blanket over your back, then you became Superman. You take your mom's broom and ride on it. Then you became a witch. You climb up the tree, not knowing that you might fall. You simply made it. You just had no idea and made it happen because you believed. You were then creative with strong belief. As you became adult, things seemed to be a little different. When you failed in your exam, you think, I can never make it. When you have a brilliant marriage proposal, then you think, maybe it's not the right time. When you want to start a business, you think, maybe it's not as easy. When you are already in the business, you heard someone say, do not take risks. Then, when you have a brilliant idea that can create more jobs for poorer nations, can provide a better living for more people, can make our nation proud, can help the growth of our nation, and can create a better world. And you said, I'm not sure. You are still creative, but with more doubt. Then years later, you heard someone have the same idea as yours. What makes him different from you? His action. He put his idea into reality. He's the most promising, creative young entrepreneur of the year. His action won him this recognition. Then you started to think, how I wished I had taken action years ago. Think when you were a kid. If that idea came by when you were still a kid, could you have taken action? When back then you strongly believed, it is never too late. You just need to have an idea and make it happen. You still can, if you believe. Creativity starts from a belief.
when we were little, right, all of us made make-believe about something. And it was funny when I saw that, I thought the broom, I didn't become a witch, that was a horse. That was horseback riding. But the point is, we all did make-believe, right? And we all had, not all of us, a lot of us did make-believe. A lot of us had make-believe friends even. So you even have like support in whatever your thing was you were creating, right? And so I was thinking about this. I said, what changes between being that kid and I'm gonna be a doctor and I'm gonna be a lawyer and I'm gonna be this and I'm gonna be that. Like I was gonna be all of it. Maybe not all at one time, but I was gonna be all that stuff. What happens? And some of us grow up and, we've had less than wonderful childhoods. And many of us have had wonderful childhoods. Or maybe we belong to a culture where out of protection and love, we were told, don't do that, you could get hurt. And so we internalized some of that and we started to believe that we couldn't. Well, here's the great news, guys. We are a room full of adults. We are the authorities in our life, not the people from our past. That was all out of love. That was all based on their perception. And there's no shame, no blame. But if we're not experiencing our good now, if we're not creating more good, if our life isn't working for us and we're not contributing to a world that works for everyone, sorry, that's all about us. There's a scripture that says it's done unto us as we believe. And so I was thinking, what makes me believe that the stuff that other people told me or that I learned outside of myself is more true than what I actually believe? Because as a kid, pretty much, I don't know about y'all, but I'm an Aries, and you couldn't tell me anything. I thought I knew everything. Poor little mother. But they're like, you can't do that. You can't swim. You can't jump off that. Be careful. Get down out of that tree because you're gonna break. I used to hide in the tree when I heard my mother outside because I wasn't supposed to climb the tree. But I was already up there like the little boy in there. And so, what makes me believe that I can't still do those things? Well, we've been using this companion book, Creative Minded Success, and this is a fabulous book, and I'll give you several, I hope to give you several examples this morning of why. But one of the things that Ernest says is because sometimes we don't remember who we are, we don't remember our relationship to life. And so we talk a lot about spiritual practices here, and I'm a big proponent of beginning our day with knowing who I am and whose I am. If there's an infinite power, and we are made in the image and likeness of this infinite field of possibilities, in this infinite power, in this infinite mind, in this infinite wisdom, and I exist, then I'm an expression of that. Everything that's true about that, I'm just a smaller version of that. Its very nature is creative, so my nature is creative, and I know you guys are all too smart for this, but hopefully you're creating things that work for you. You're creating relationships that work for you, you're creating prosperity and health in your life, but when we don't know, sometimes we create unwanted experiences. However, that was still our creative nature. But when we can remember who we are, if we begin our day with remembering who we are, that sets the tone for the whole rest of the day. And it also really is a solid foundation to believe in ourselves and to believe in the good that it is that we want to create, right? Because if you do believe in this philosophy we teach, there's one power. That one life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life. That life is your life. If you really believe that's true, do you know how you actually have an experience of that? You have to do it. You have to practice it. You can't just talk about it, right? We're talking about going for it. You have to, last time I gave a talk, I said, Ernest Holmes, it was a quote right out of the book, he said, most of us need more backbone than wishbone. That means action, that means movement. The universe can only do for us what it can do through us. So we have to create an opening for it to do, for it to express as our desired good through us. I talked about in the beginning how, it talks about in today's thought, like doubters, like can be out there. Sometimes our biggest doubters are right here. But that's based on nonsense. And do you understand that every time we go about our day believing in nonsense, that's actually what we're going for. We're going for more nonsense in the world. We're going for more limitation in the world. We're going for more scarcity. We're going for more illness. We're going for more separation. We're going for a world that won't change. Oh, well, that's just kind of the way it is. Someone said this morning that, we may never come to understand each other, those of us that are different races, those of us who have different sexualities, those of us who have any kind of differences. Well, that's actually going for it. If we decide to believe that, if we decide to talk about that, if we decide to sit around and congregate that, if we decide to stay at home and just feel sorry about it and hope that somebody else or someday it'll change. I was so moved by the conversation this morning because I realized, thank God for all the people that didn't buy into that didn't believe that they belonged that they had to sit in the back of the bus, that they needed to drink out of a different water fountain, that they needed to use a different bathroom, and said, it's equality for all of us. Now, we may not be all the way there, but guess what? We wouldn't even be where we are if it wasn't for those individuals and their partners in make-believe, their partners in creativity, going for it. So, we might have these stories, but I guess the question is, what are we going for? Again, I'm going to say, are we going for nonsense? Or are we going to go for the truth? That we are made in image and likeness of greatness, of magnificence. We're the universe. If we can conceive it, it is relying upon that which we conceive, the mental mold that I give it, right? Then we can achieve it. And as Debbie said, I believe in you. You believe in me. Many of you know I have been unemployed for some time, and I have been trying to get a job, and I have prayer partners, and I have a Sangha, and I have practitioners, and I believe in doing whatever I have to do to shore myself up. I also have a coach and an accountability partner, because when I'm trying to go for something new that it hasn't been my pattern to go for, that I might have been complacent or I might have got a little comfortable, in the it's not working, or I know nobody in this room does that magic of thinking, just kind of hoping that if I affirm it enough, if I treat about it enough, if I visualize it enough, bam, it's going to happen. Well, it don't work like that. It actually requires me to move my keister. I have to create activity. So it's great to have all of that wonderful, fabulous support system, but as a little kid, when you were like Superwoman or Superman or whatever your thing was, you weren't like just sitting in your room talking about it, right? You were probably all over the house, all over the neighborhood, you were at school. Probably the teacher, if you were chatty like me, was telling you to sit down. Now's not the time for that. But you were actively being Superman or Superwoman or whatever that thing. You were being it. You were doing it. You weren't just giving it lip service. Going for it means we have to walk our walk. And we have to do what we need to do to shore ourselves up so that we can believe in ourselves, and then have somebody walking the walk with you that can believe in you. So I'm going back to the unemployment thing. So I've had all these people praying with me, like every week. And when I feel really shaky, like if I've had days where it was just like a bunch of no's, I would text people and say, okay, I need my spiritual ninjas to get on it. I'm ready to be working. So I prayed with my practitioner a week ago, this past Friday, and he shared a story with me that he was treating with a young woman for work, and she came in one day and she goes, I don't want to treat for a job anymore, I have a job. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm sick of treating for the job, I have a job. So the other thing I decided was, I'm going to move my keister every single day this past week. I went to job fair after job fair after job fair after job fair. I went to Kinko's, I printed off a zillion trillion resumes, and I gave them to everybody. When people said, would you apply for anything and everything? It didn't matter at that point. I wanted the universe to know, in case you didn't know that I was serious, in case I wasn't moving my keister as much, in case I was moving my chops and moving my thought, but not moving my body, I decided this week I'm moving my body from 8 to 5. That's what I did. I went after work. So guess what happens on Friday? I got a job. What am I not doing? Enough action. No blame, no shame, enough action. The universe can only do for me what it can do through me. Emerson says, life has need of an organ named you. How shall you assume the post? Most of us, we want some good, but we want to kind of we want to think about it and talk about it and make a vision work. Nobody in this room. People out there, it's like I said, the world out there. We want to do vision boards around it, and that's great. Those are important because we need something to replace the nonsense. And that is a way of going forward. Every time you create a spiritual practice that supports your new good or your new truth, that is an action step in that direction. But we don't want to just stay in that place. Reverend Jim Lockard was here back in April, and he said this thing that, that affected me profoundly. And he said, after he does the treatment, I go forth from the consciousness I just declared. And I was like, he said it at both services. I go forth from the consciousness I just declared. I go forth from the consciousness I just declared. What does that mean? Because usually we treat and then we like go home and we expect something to happen, or we expect it miraculously to show up in our day, right? And we might even have actually talked about what was going on before we had the treatment and just declared something new to happen. So I want you to hold on to that thought, and I want you to see what Jessica declares and how she goes through her day.
Look, I can be a sark. Now, my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my moms. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
Now, she's a young woman now, but I think that has like 13 million views or something like that. But what an amazing way to begin your day. But we're talking about from the consciousness that we just declared. What did she declare? She declared how much she loved her life, how much she loved the people in her life, how much she loved her home, because it sure beats sleeping on the streets, I'm for certain about. I don't know about y'all, but I know where I live, it beats sleeping. You know what I mean? So we have to find the good in our life and be grateful for it, but what about starting our day from that consciousness? I actually feel like some people would say those are affirmations. Well, we talk about affirmative prayer. What a fabulous prayer. And not only did she say, like, I love myself, and I can do it better than anyone else. What's the difference between her and Muhammad Ali? I'm the greatest, and for a while he was the greatest. So why aren't we saying that about ourselves? Why aren't we beginning our day and constantly throughout the day talking about that good that we want to do? You know what? I have this idea, and because I have this idea, I know that life wants to experience itself as me, as this. So I'm going to give it my time, I'm going to give it my attention, I'm going to give myself a buddy, whether it's a practitioner or whether it's a partner in belief, whatever, it's an accountability partner, it can be your therapist, it can be your coach. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, give that good that you just declared its due. Go for it. Give it your action. Give it your time. And don't, even though it may not have shown up yet, right? We don't want to actually talk about what we don't want more of. We actually want to talk about the thing we want more of. If we want more love, then give more love and talk about more love. Stand in your mirror. Louise Hay has been saying it for 50 years. Well, 40-something. But she's been saying it for a really long time. Mirror work is so important. She talks about us saying about we love ourselves, but what about if that's the place in which you pray? Because I tell you what, if you pray standing in front of the mirror, if you just spout some flowery words or you just copy off of Ernest Holmes and you don't believe it, you know it, right? Because you can't lie to yourself in the mirror, right? You know if you're just talking as opposed to you're making that declaration. And then once you make that declaration, then you act in that direction. You don't wait for it to happen. You move in that direction. Kathy Farrer, I don't even know how she found out I was looking for work, but she sent me email after email after email. And I feel like while I got the job through another person in our beloved community, right? Because you tell people, she kept me going. She kept me applying. Because man, she was bombarding me with emails. And I'm grateful, but it would be like if I would be like, oh, I don't want to fill out one more online application. Oh wait, she sent me this. I felt like it was an invitation. It's an invitation to grow. It was an invitation to stand in the consciousness that I had declared instead of stand in the consciousness I'm unemployed. And it was a little tricky. I had to watch my language. You know what I mean? Because there's that people say, have you found a job yet? And I'll take it. I'm on it. It's here. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm saying I'm unemployed, I'm actually declaring unemployment. If I want to be in a loving relationship and I'm telling you how single and lonely I am, that's what I'm declaring. Now that partner may not have shown up yet, but you know what? I can know that he's here and I can say, oh, amazing times are happening. You can find a way to speak your future truth in the now and experience and be acting in alignment with that. That is super duper important. I'll give an example. When I first started running the bookstore, we were doing really great, and then all of a sudden, like, business just kind of slacked off, and like the profits went like way down. And I don't know why I was reading Creative Mind and Success, but this was my first time reading it. And Ernest Holmes talks about when you have some good that you want to experience and grow, activity. There must be activity. And time and again, he talks about in here, if you have a business or you have a dream, you need to be walking around, like talking out loud to yourself. As a business owner, you should be saying, oh, I'm so grateful for all these customers and these wonderful sales, and we sell such merchandise, and you're supposed to be seeing it full. He says you should be walking up and down throughout your business, and you should be moving stuff around. That's the other thing. So if you feel stuck or you don't have an idea, move stuff around at home, he says. But you should be moving things. So we never used to have two volunteers at the second service, which now is a mainstay. That's because I would see the bookstore full and people came and people shopped. And so that is action. I didn't wait until the people showed up to be grateful. You have to do the action in advance. Now, you might have that voice. We all might have that voice that tell us that that's not possible, or it's too late, or I don't have enough time. But again, I'm going to ask you, what are you going for? Are you going to go for the okie doke? Or are you going to go for it? Are you going to remember who you really are? Are you going to align yourself with the infinite mind, the infinite power of the universe, that you are actually an expression of that? I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I spent years going for the okie doke. I spent years settling for less. I spent years dialing down my dream. For those of us that are lucky enough to be a part of this community or visiting this community, how about we devote as many years that we believed in nonsense to believing in the truth about ourselves, to going for that, for showing up that way, because as we do so, not only are we blessed, we are blessing wherever we are, and other people are liberated. I get a lot of inspiration from movies and songs. Debbie's song like just really, really moved me. Thank you so much for pouring your heart and soul in it. And one of my favorite movies, and I love comedies, is The Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. Have you guys seen that? Okay, so I do this thing. It's really kind of silly. My children started a long time ago. If I get that voice going, you can't do it, it's too late, or you waited too long, or blah, 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 whatever that is, I go, yes, I can. You guys remember that from Sherman Clip? Okay, Shondell, do you have the clip?
Yes, we can. Yes, I can.
I will do that in public. I will do that in the children. My youth will break out into my yes, you did. Okay, well, it's our job to be our own cheerleader. This is our dream of people. If I'm not going to stand up for my own dream, it's not your job. If I ask you to be my partner, you know what I mean? It's your job to do it with me, but I have to first say yes to it. Find your own funny way or your own way that breaks you out of the nonsense to go for that dream and stand up for it and say, yes, you can. There's a clip on YouTube where they mix that with Barack Obama's speech because his first year, where he said, yes, we can. We can as a nation, right? And so I'd like to close with that thought, going back to what Michael said, these diversity conversations that we have, whatever the good is that we want to create. Gandhi brought a nation to peace. He's teaching millions of people, and he died 50 plus years ago, on how to practice nonviolence. Martin Luther King did it 25, 30 years ago. They had a dream. They moved in the direction with that dream that has affected us. You know, our individual dreams might not be that big, but it doesn't matter. It is the way the universe is seeking to express and experience itself as each one of you, and you can do it. The dice of the universe are loaded in your favor. The universe is just waiting for us to say, yes, I can. I invite you today, pray with practitioners. As Michael said, it's not just about when things aren't going. It's not just about we want more good, but if you have a dream and you know you have resistance to that dream, go for it and tell your dream the truth. Raise your level of belief through your spiritual practice, through the company that you keep, through what you let run in your own mind. We would still be separate if somebody didn't stand up for something new. Today, I invite each of you to stand up for something new. Stand up for it personally. Pick your one thing, and then stand up for it for our world. Don't shy away from the news and what's uncomfortable. Let's see what the shadow is so that we can shine the light and know the truth. Our own individual consciousness lifts and blesses our whole world. We do make a difference. Let us pray. How good it is to come together, as Veronica said, to be vulnerable to love, to open to the truth about ourselves, to raise our level of belief, to throw out old beliefs in nonsense and lack and limitation and scarcity and illness, in doubt and unnecessary worry, to go for truth, to go for our oneness with wisdom, to stand in a place where honoring each other's differences is greater. Where we stand up for this life, we go for our lives, our precious, necessary, needed life, and our precious, necessary, needed dreams. We use our creativity to create more good in the world, more love, more peace, more happiness, more joy, more freedom, more prosperity, more health, more laughter, more fun, more wisdom, more connection. We use our creativity intentionally instead of mindlessly. We bless the world that we live in, and we ask, like, what do you want to be and do as me? Oh, whatever I want. Got it. Yes, I can. Yes, we can. So I affirm and declare that each person leaves here today and you take one action step in the direction of this new good. And each day you add to that action step. It might be one action step for 6, 8 weeks, 9 months. Who knows? Who cares? But until that good is here, you stand for it, unwavering, steadfast, and you take partners with you. You allow life to support you and lift you and hold you. Wipe away all that no longer serves you. And I know that as we do so, our lives thrive and our world thrives. What we contribute is a blessing. We're so richly blessed in return, we cannot help but be grateful. We cannot help but create. We cannot help but live. But from this moment on, we do choose to do so deliberately. And so I accept and affirm this truth for each person in this room and each person that hears this message. Knowing that all of life is saying yes right along with us. And our desired outcomes are assured. In this I'm confident. And as Debbie said, I believe in each person in this room. I believe in each person in this world. And I know that we are here to be the difference. And so it is.